And welcome to today's wonderful Wisdom Circle. My name's Sophia. I have the honor of being the co-creator of Sacred You, and we are honored to be able to host this wonderful Wisdom Circle. It's outgrowing who you used to be, the gift of getting uncomfortable, which I'm really looking forward to hearing it all about. And our beautiful Laura Hope is the facilitator. So welcome, Laura. I know we're throwing you in the deep end because it's your very first Wisdom Circle, and a lot of our participants are here for the first time. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Laura, and I will be back at the end. And I just
All
want to
right.
honor everyone for being here today. So thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Yes, well, I'm so happy to be here with you, beautiful ladies, and thank you all for joining. So, my name is Laura Hope, and I am a habit coach. I help people quit unwanted habits, and part of that is leaning into discomfort. So, that's why we're here today to talk about how getting uncomfortable can be a gift. It can be something that leads us to growth. So, if we can, I'd like to go around and have everybody give us a brief introduction. Let us know who you are and a bit about your background, just a minute or two. And I'll just kind of go around on my screen. Sabrina, do you mind if we start with you?
Hello, hello. Thank you, Laura, and wonderful to be with you all. So, my name is Sabrina. I am a coach. I'm also a professional dancer and dance educator. I was a former corporate girl, corporate gal. We're going to dive into that because that was a past life and talk about getting uncomfortable and changing entire careers. And now I help women who feel stuck, who feel like there's more that could come from their life, lean into that discomfort and stretch their comfort zones and try new things. And so obviously I did it for myself and I'm learning every day, continuing to learn, continuing to grow and helping women uncover their potential and seeing where they can have these opportunities to really live in alignment and in purpose and with passion. So I'm all about helping you live your best life and doing that for myself as well. Every decision I make is one from alignment, and I want to encourage everyone to do the same. So I'm excited to talk about it because it all starts with getting uncomfortable. Don't think that it's easy. It can be,
Yeah.
but there's definitely moments where it's like, I need to stretch myself. And that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm super excited about today's topic.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Sabrina. I'm so glad to have you. All right, Joe, you are next in my my screen order.
Hello, 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 everybody. Good morning
Hello.
from Australia, New South Wales, Australia, all the way down under. Yes, I am Jo Anne Irwin. I actually am very similar to Sabrina. I help women to break through their ceilings and become who they truly are to live their best life. So, background is 40 years in health and nutrition and wellness, spiritual, everything. You name it, I've done it to try and, break through my ceilings and support women to do the same. So NLP, hypnosis, all the tools. So it's exciting to be here because I believe that unless we go to the edge, we don't break through. So it's such an exciting area. People find it fearful, but it's very exciting. And I'm sure we're going to dive into that today. So
Yeah,
thank
I'm
you for
so
having
glad
me.
you brought that up. Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Joe. All right, Tawana.
Hello, everyone. I
Um,
am Tywanah Evette, High Priestess, Shaman, Spiritual Guide. I, like Sabrina and Joe, coach women to go from survival mode to sovereignty by embracing their divine feminine flow and allowing things to come into their life rather than chasing them. And so I am so honored to be here. I teach here at Sacred You Psychic Insight. I am also a medium. So just really glad to dive into this. All there's so much wisdom in here, and get into this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to have you here. Right. And Gail, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi there, and thanks for having me today. I'm a soul-guided success coach, and I help female entrepreneurs to infuse their business with clarity and purpose. My clients call me a soul's treasure hunter because I help find the treasures within all of us. So that's to unlock a more fulfilling life and have a soul-driven career. So I started with a restrictive upbringing in life and became a spiritual counselor for well over 20 years. And now I've moved into helping people find success in their business as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I am so glad to have everybody here. And it sounds like we've got a lot of really powerful backgrounds. And so I think we're going to get some awesome discussion going. So, to set the stage, first I want to talk about what is discomfort, right? Because something that makes one person uncomfortable might be totally fine for another person. And so I'm curious to hear from you ladies. When you hear discomfort, what do you think of, either in terms of emotions or situations or anything else that comes to mind? What does discomfort mean?
I'll start if you like. I remember when I was 7 years old and I got my first pair of glasses. They were lovely brown horn-rimmed ones because they were trendy at the time. And I had to walk into my school class. I think I was in grade 3 at the time. And being an empath and I'm hypersensitive as well, I thought the whole world was watching me. And as I walked into that school, I remember feeling like that everybody was going to notice and they were going to judge me and I was going to fall apart. So that was a really big discomfort for me for my first 7 years of age. And I think it set the scene for what was to come because that set up a discomfort along the way. And I think that's in an early stage of life, we set up for ourselves what's to come next.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's such a good point that we kind of things are set up for us early in life, right? And I think that also sets the stage for whether we believe discomfort is safe or not, right? Whether discomfort is encouraged or whether discomfort is, shied away from. So I think that's a great point that early in our formative years we figure out what we think about discomfort. Yeah. Who
Laura,
else?
I'm kind of glad that you talked about whether we learn if discomfort is normal.
Mhm.
My spiritual awakening began with me trying to take my life because I had learned discomfort was normal. So I had no idea I was being abused
Mhm.
because,
Mhm.
there was no hitting, right? So when we learn that discomfort is normal, oh, yelling in a relation, that's normal. The screaming, that's normal. There's just
Mhm.
something wrong. You got to fix it. But we do learn at an early age whether or not being uncomfortable is normal, and it's not. But the most discomfortable thing in this world that I personally have ever experienced, next to my childhood was my spiritual awakening. I
Mhm.
used to tell my TikTok following, I had no idea when you go through a spiritual awakening, that means you're always awake. Like you get no sleep, nothing. But to counteract that, when you come out on the other side, there's this one day where you just expect the worst because you've been through the worst, and the worst doesn't happen. And you realize who you are. And then you begin to live on purpose.
Mhm.
So I think discomfort can be both things. Yes, we learn it as children, but discomfort teaches us what needs to change. I am in front of this person. They have crossed a boundary. It's making
Mhm.
me uncomfortable. So I either need to A, let this person know, or B, decide whether this conversation is worth having and remove myself. So
Yeah,
it's actually both, in my opinion.
it's a great
Hmm.
point. Yeah, yeah.
And to add to that, I totally agree with what all of you have been saying. And if I can add, for me, discomfort is an opportunity to ask questions. to inquire, to get curious. Why am I feeling this way? What is this trying to tell me? Instead of labeling it as good or bad, black or white, it's more like, okay, I'm feeling something. Feeling is a part of this information system that I'm privileged to have within my body. What are these sensations coming up to tell me? And that's an
Mhm.
opportunity to then take action, to learn, to do something about it. Or there's also a choice there to stay as is. And that's ultimately your choice. But just here, what I want to bring forward is that you always have a choice, whether it's to act on these feelings of discomfort or to stay in them. You are always empowered to choose what your next step is.
Yeah. I think you make an excellent point that we don't always have to change, right? Sometimes the discomfort that we're in is better than the other types of discomfort that are available for us. And it's on a case by case or situation by situation basis. And I think that's great. Yeah. Joe, do you have thoughts?
Yes, I'm trying to navigate my phone because I left my laptop at my daughter's last night.
Oh no.
So this is a new learning for me. So yeah, I love everything that everyone's just talked about. I just wanted to tap into what Tywanah was saying around, this part of us as a child not being able to communicate what we need. I think that's a really big piece because I remember laying in bed listening to the screams and the noises and all the things, but I felt like I just could not express that. And so, to my point, I think there's a soul part of us that knows it's not normal, but we've been
Mhm.
entrained to not speak. So we cut off this, voice, this our throat chakras, and we shut it down. And I think we take that forward, and we have to relearn those things. As I believe, as we get older, we realize that it's not okay, and we have a voice and we can speak. But it is a relearning, right? Because it's not familiar, especially when there's a lot of trauma involved. So, yeah, so discomfort is finding your voice, being able to have
Mhm.
the courage to speak up. And I still
Mhm.
sometimes waver in that and shake in that because my human self is still carrying some of the wounds of that. But I know I know where it's coming from, so it's easier to work with. And that's the part I just wanted to add. So thank you.
Yeah. And I love how everybody has a little bit of a different kind of approach or view of it, right? We had this kind of, as a young child, feeling kind of embarrassed and, oh, what are people going to think of me? And, being in a situation where you're like, no, this isn't okay. I've got to put up these boundaries, right? And Sabrina, you talked about, let me listen to it. And Joe talked about, like, how can I speak from it, right? And so I love those different perspectives. And I think that kind of leads very well into my next question. I heard somewhere, and I wish I could remember the source of it, but basically the idea was that there are two different types of fear. There's the high dive type of fear where you're standing on a high dive and it would be really fun to go for it. And it's something you want to do, but fear is holding you back. And then there's the type of fear where you are looking at a crocodile pit, this muddy crocodile pit. And there is no part of you that wants to be in that crocodile pit, right? So there are two different types of fear. This is a message that I really need to avoid this. And like, oh, this is something that it's an opportunity for me to overcome, something that's holding me back. And so I'd love to hear from you guys, do you distinguish between those two types? And if so, how? How do you tell the difference between the high dive fear and the crocodile pit fear?
I definitely do. I'm a jump in the pool with both feet kind of girl. Like either like I'm always like, okay, this is the moment. We're just gonna do it. We're just going to do it. But as an intuitive and a coach and a spiritual guide, I teach people now. Even though I jump in the pool with both feet, I'm doing it from a place of knowing my
Mm,
intuition. I live by my intuition. If my intuition says no, it's a firm, strong no. Now, if my intuition says yes, I listen, I lean into her. What are you trying to tell me? Um, how, what do I need to do to navigate this situation safely? Um, I I don't even leave the house without my intuition's permission anymore. I'm serious, but that's how far it goes. So I teach my clients, you never make any decision in your life unless intuition tells you,
Mm.
because that is the one that will never lie. This will lie to you all day.
Mm.
I
That's a
love
great point.
that,
Love
and I
that.
completely agree. Um, Definitely, I'm guided as well by intuition, but I often and always, often always, say often always speak about fear is disguised excitement. It depends on which lens you're viewing it from. So unless my life is at risk, like I will not jump into that crocodile pit because I know what's going to happen. There's a survival
Right.
instinct there. Let's hope that kicks in. Let's hope that
Right.
intuition is right. But if
Yes.
it's just, ooh, there's something holding me back, there's resistance. But again, let me get curious. What is beneath that? What is my deeper desire? What is that passion calling me forward to do? Because often it's excitement. It's the same feeling. If we really think about it and sit with it, the sensations in your body are more or less the same. Whether you're fearful, whether you're excited, like it's that fluttery feeling in your body that's coming up, the butterflies in your stomach, the heart palpitations, right? But it's also being able to ask yourself, where is this coming from? And is the fear just because it's new, it's uncertain, I maybe don't know how yet? But if that excitement and again, that intuition is guiding you to move forward, that's where it's like, okay, let's take the leap. Let's lean into that fear because we know the excitement on the other side will come through and it's going to be worth it.
Mm. Love it. Yes.
Last year we did a road trip, and so we went around Australia, and it was a bit like driving across Canada. It's a fair way, or across the US. So we did this road trip, and as we were driving, there were days that I would get there that I would have this fear inside of me, and I didn't know what it was from. But what I've found is that this fear was taught to me. My mother was very fearful. She was a warrior. Not a warrior, a worrier. And so she would worry about everything. And that was taught to me. So I had this fear instilled in me. So it was fear first rather than fear last. And sometimes it's difficult to distinguish whether the different types of fear. And so what I've learned to do, because you asked for a solution, what I've learned to do with that is to embrace the fear. So we would be driving along and I would be feeling this in my body. And so I would acknowledge it. And then I'd embrace it because that's a shadow part of me. And we can't deny it because if we deny the stuff that we don't like, we're also denying the stuff that we do like about ourselves. So I would embrace that. And so I came to embrace these emotions that I didn't like, and fear was a big one of those. And so that actually helped me to move beyond that. And then I could settle into my intuition because not all fear is the same, like you were saying, and sometimes it's difficult to distinguish. So I found embracing that fear made a difference for me.
Mm. Yes, thank you. And hi, Trina, welcome. We're just talking about different types of fear and how do you know when it's something that you should really run from or avoid, and how do you know when it's something to lean into and embrace, as Gail said. Yeah. Joe, would you like to add something?
Yes, absolutely, 100% on the money with what you were all of you were talking about. Actually, as far as I'm an all-in girl too, I will just jump in, and I'm not sure, why that is. I guess I'm a bit of a risk taker at the core of it, but I've had to, like Tywanah, learn how to discern what is going to serve me or what's going to hurt me. And you know what? I think it's always also okay to make those wrong decisions, or not wrong, but those, if you're not quite sure, because as you're learning to tap into your intuition and learn whether it's a yes, no, or a maybe, then if it's not serving you, you can always jump back out. So you can learn from it. There's something to learn from that. Why was I led down that road? And that's what Sabrina's talking about, you know, that curiosity, and realize, well, oh, okay, now I can learn to be more discerning in decisions moving forward. So whether you make the right, I don't believe in right or wrong. I just believe in learning. That's always part of your journey to empowerment, because you go, oh yeah, that was interesting and fascinating. That's why I took that road, and I've taken many of those roads before I really learnt to tap into my intuition. So I think it's important to know that along the way it's okay to make mistakes, right? And then you can just, you know, learn from that and do it differently next time.
Yeah, I love, Jo, that you point out that A, it's okay to make mistakes, and B, we get to change our mind, right? If we decide that it's not a good idea for us anymore, it's not like, you know, we can't step back and say, okay, let me adjust my position here. I think that's a fantastic point. And to view more as learning versus trying to figure out right versus wrong. Like, instead, how do I learn from it? Yeah. So I would love to hear from each of you a situation where you were uncomfortable and you took that as an opportunity to grow, that you kind of made the discomfort work for you.
Well, I can start. In 2013, we decided as a family, we've got 7 kids, but we only had 2 at home at the time. The others had grown up. And my husband and I decided that we were going to move to the US. So we're going from Australia to the US. And we had a business, so we decided we were going to start a business there. And there was just so much uncertainty, unknown, and fear involved that I was just so focused on what came next, taking the next step, taking the next little step and the next little step and the next little step, so that we could actually make that move over to the US. We were in Palm Springs region of California, and it was a wonderful experience, and we were there for a couple of years, and it's changed who our kids have become. It's changed them, and they've blossomed and become the people that I never thought that they could become, but that was because we took the opportunity to move into our discomfort and just settle and lean into those things that make you afraid. And each day we would set ourselves up to be focused on where we were going, what we were doing, do our meditation each day, do our writing, our journaling, and we were really focused in that. And I think because of that discomfort, it made us more focused on who we were and what we wanted out of this experience. And so that's something that was uncomfortable in every step that we turned, because even though Americans speak English, of course, the cultures are very different. And so just even in the even in the language, I remember going to Las Vegas one time with some friends of mine, and one of the ladies there said, have a look in the fridge, the bar fridge, and see if we can fit anything in it. And I don't know if you've ever been to Las Vegas, but as soon as you take something out of the fridge in Caesar's Palace, they charge you for it. So I said, this fridge is chock-a-block. And they just turned and looked at me and said, what? I said, oh, it's very full. And it was just a different language. And so that wasn't uncomfortable, but the discomfort of where we were going, what we wanted to achieve, and how we fitted in was each day we had to navigate that. And it was a wonderful, opening, enjoyable experience.
Awesome. And what I'm hearing in that is that being uncomfortable allowed you to be more intentional.
It made me more focused, because it was like, I can't leave anything to chance, because a lot of times I think we just sail through lives and we do our journaling for a while, and we become focused for a while, we do our meditation for a while, and then it just slips by. But when you're in a situation that you're uncomfortable or it's very unknown, you do become very intentional, like you were saying. And so you make sure that you do those things that would you slip by otherwise.
Yeah, a great point.
I I actually had it was probably one of the most uncomfortable encounters about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. Time is just all over the place these days. Um, but you guys noticed when I came in as Thunderbird Rising, and I explained that that is the native name that my great great grandfather gave me. Well, I've never met my great great grandfather except in the afterlife, meeting him, me being a bridge to the spirit realm. And he placed his headdress upon my head months ago and said, "You are Thunderbird Rising." And I kept that. And one day, one of my friends says to me, "You have to announce it. Your life is not going to change until you change your identity." And then she's like, "That headdress stands just like this." And I'm like, "How do you know what my headdress looks like? What are you not telling me?" And it was a very uncomfortable moment for me to hear that I had to no longer be Black Butterfly Goddess. As you can see, I love butterflies, but I am Thunderbird Rising, and that's who I was born to be. So on this call full of Christian believers, I was the closing, and I read a poem I wrote that I am Thunderbird Rising, a prophecy fulfilled. And I think people thought like I was, you know how people say it with your whole chest? I think people thought I was doing that, but I was more nervous than anything, so I was screaming because from the inside, I could feel myself screaming, but it helped me to embrace that identity and to understand that yes, the visions that I had and the dreams that I had at 6 years old, they are prophecy fulfilled. I just forgot because of childhood, being taught at a young age, this dysfunction is normal. And discomfort is normal. So I forgot who I was. I remember every summer my godmother driving to Shinnecock, New York. All of you know where that is, the Hamptons. And I'd be sitting on her suitcase in the Volkswagen Beetle, and she would say, "You have land here. Your great great grandfather left you land here. So when you get old enough, you need to come and check," but the records have since been destroyed. So I had to remember that discomfort because I was used to be like, "Oh, this weird old lady, I just want to get there and go to the beach and see the powwow." But no, that discomfort allowed me to step into who I really am and what my soul contract says I'm here to do.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Powerful, very
Yeah.
powerful. Thank you, Tywanah, for sharing that. Beautiful. And I think identity is a big piece, isn't it? Who we were, who we are, and who we're becoming. And we're always reinventing that and finding more, discovering more about ourselves and coming home, right? Coming home to who we truly are, that soul being. And I think one of the most discomfortable, is it? Anyway, whatever that word is. One of the most uncomfortable times for me, I guess, was when I was left in a situation that, and also a fearful situation where a single mum of four, I was pregnant with my fourth child and my husband walked. And I realized it was like fight or die, because I had to raise these four children. And for the life of me, I was already doing the work. This is 20 years ago. I was already doing the work to a certain degree. I was in the spiritual community and my girls were at the Steiners education, so I had a lot of support. However, I was like, how are we going to survive? Like, it was just the most life-changing moment for me, and I just believed. I just went inside and just asked God, what is next, and have that trust and faith. And a business pretty much landed in my lap, long story short. And I started a business from home around the 4 children, and that took me around the world. But it was the most fearful thing, yes, to just like create this new identity of who I was now, like single mother of 4 and businesswoman, entrepreneur, stepping in. Like, I didn't believe it for a long time, but I just had faith and I had support. And I had people, cheering me on. I had people showing me the way, and every single time I had to do something, even speak to someone on the phone, it was like shaking in my boots moment. But I think the fear of not having enough and having to provide and survive drove me to just keep stepping into that new identity and becoming, what I needed to become to provide for my family. And that was, I guess, one of the most pivotal moments in my life in changing identity, but also, just also facing the fear and doing it anyway. And there's something in that, right? There's something, what is it, that fear, feel the fear and do it anyway. Like that was me. Just feel it and do it. Just feel it and do it. What was the alternative? And there was times where I was homeless and things like that, but I kept having to reinvent myself and keep stepping into who she truly was. And it's been an incredible life. Like, so challenges really make us, help us to outgrow who we are and to be the person that we're meant to be. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And that is an incredible shift. And, and all of those things, it sounds like your identity was shifting kind of from every facet possible, right? It wasn't just this little tweak that you were making. It was like a total overhaul of your identity.
Over and over.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. I can definitely relate to the identity piece. For me, the story that comes to mind is outgrowing who I was or who I thought I was or needed to be for the rest of my life. And for me, it was a career perspective. I tied my identity to my career. I was Sabrina, the corporate advertising director. I worked hard for my job, 10 years into the industry. I was good at what I did. It was successful on paper. I checked all the boxes, quote unquote. It was the best job ever. So why was I so unhappy? And then comes the guilt, comes the shame, where anyone would kill for this job and why doesn't it make me happy anymore? And in 2018, I started a burnout. And the burnout was not only because I was overworked, it was because my soul was no longer aligned to this career. And I didn't feel that or I didn't realize that until I started doing the work. And then I reflected back and I was like, that's why. That's why I would wake up with a feeling of dread. And the first thought I had was, how can I call in sick to work? And I was not that person. I was a very positive, optimistic, happy-go-lucky person. And between 2018 and 2019, I completely transformed. I didn't recognize myself anymore, and that was uncomfortable. And that scared me because I was a shell of a person of who I was. I felt like I was just going through the motions. I was not ambitious. I was not asking questions. I was not interacting. I was not social. I was just there. And I did what I needed to do. But my soul was so uninspired that I couldn't possibly be excited about anything because I was drained. And again, come back to the guilt and the shame of like, but you have everything you worked for and you have everything you want. And so the permission slip here to set me free was the realization that you're allowed to outgrow who you were to become the next version of yourself. And that permission slip that I gave myself and that actually my boss gave me at that time thankful for him, he recognized the symptoms that he had also gone through. And he's like, you know what? I think this chapter is done for you. And go off and explore what you need to explore. And it was perfect timing because I left in 2019 without a backup plan. That was also uncomfortable. But it was that inner knowing, which I think, Tywanah, you referred to earlier, that intuition, that take the leap and like feel the fear, as Jo just said, feel the fear and do it anyway, but with the inner knowing that this is going to be okay. So there was uncertainty. It was discomfort because it was new, but never was I panicked. Never was I worried that it wouldn't all work out because deep inside, I knew that that's what I needed to do and I would figure it out. I was resilient. I would I would figure out what I needed to. I would learn what I needed to. And in 2020, I had the gift of the world shutting down. And I say it that way because then I had time to slow down and to heal and to really sit with myself and ask myself questions that I was avoiding asking for so long because I knew the answer would be change, and change is scary. But it was an opportunity for me to heal, to reconnect, to start doing the things I loved. I slowly brought joy back into my life by just connecting to dance, which has always been my passion. And I had put it aside because I was the corporate gal who was like overtime and traveling and whatnot. So reconnecting to dance, started to teach again, and slowly the opportunities started to come. And then slowly I was like, oh my goodness, I love seeing how confident my students are when they're in my dance class. There must be more. And that's when I discovered coaching. And I was like, okay, we can do this on a bigger scale. And then went into coaching, so on and so forth. So it was the gift of the discomfort of also knowing that it's okay to want more. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to outgrow who you were and that you're not tied to what you do. And at the core, it's like, who are you as a person? What are your passions? What are your deep desires? And you can design that life for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much giving yourself permission to dream and be daring, right? I also love that you brought up the guilt and the shame, right? That's a very distinct type of discomfort. And I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on how do we use that guilt or shame and grow from it rather than hold us back? Because so often guilt and shame hold us back, right? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how do we take that and grow from it rather than get held back by it.
Well, sometimes I think guilt and shame starts very early in life. And I remember when I was quite young, and I came home from school one day, and my mother was entertaining some friends, and they were all just sitting around chatting and complaining about their lives and who was to blame for it and what they could do about it. And I wasn't really listening. I was just there for the food. So as they were talking, though, I could start to get pictures in my mind and solutions would come in. And I'm thinking, oh, as a 10-year-old, these people would want to know the solutions that I'm getting for their life, these adults, surely. So I would give these adults solutions of what they could do to make their life better. I was giving them, some soul guidance, and they would just look down at me and say, "Well, what would you know? You're just a child." However, it turned out that a lot of those solutions that I gave were actually correct and turned out in the long term. And so that was my first inkling of what was to come for me because I became a spiritual counselor and I could get pictures and give people guidance all the time then. And so that was how that turned out for me.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. So using it almost as like kind of going into your gift, using it to figure out
Well,
how can I
sometimes,
use this to my
yeah.
benefit?
Because sometimes these gifts are not known. I mean, you don't know what your gifts are when you're young. And so you just do what you think is normal. And this seemed normal to me. I'm getting visions, I'm getting information, I'll pass this on. This is the right thing to do. And then when you get that feedback, it's like, whoa, that really put a dampener on things for me because it was like, well, I must be wrong. You know, these adults surely know more than what I do, so I must be wrong about this. And so I shut up for a long time and didn't do anything about it. And then when I would get intuitive guidance for other people, I just wouldn't say anything. And so that then became my threshold. I wouldn't go above that. If I got that, it's like, oh, well, whatever, you know, you want to play the victim, you play the victim. That's okay. And so I wouldn't speak up. And so I had to then, I didn't create a new identity. I had to step into an old identity and become me.
That's a great way to look at it. Yeah, absolutely.
I think for me, when it comes to guilt in my situation that I described earlier, I felt guilty because it was more, what will they think? So it's those feelings, again, feelings are information. So asking myself, is this my guilt or is it someone else's? And what it boiled down to for me in that particular situation, the guilt came because I was envisioning myself changing careers, which deep down is what I wanted. But then what are they all going to say? You know, what are the other people looking at me? What are my family going to say? What are my coworkers going to say? Like, you work so hard. Why would you change now? You have such a good career. It's a stable income. You're safe. You're secure. Why would you rock the boat? So many judgments of others is what was contributing to my personal guilt. And so when I realized that it wasn't mine, it was the projections that I had of others onto me, then I was like, okay, well, it's not mine. And I need to release it because then I am making decisions based on what everybody else wants and what everybody else thinks versus what I truly want. So I think again, it comes down to being curious and asking yourself, like, where are these feelings coming from? And can I really allow myself to feel into it and release it if needed? Or maybe feel it and take it with me, but still make another decision. So it's kind of like, where is that guilt coming from?
Yeah. I love that question of, is this mine or is this from an external source? And I've just absorbed it. I think that's such an important question for us to ask ourselves. Yeah.
For me, guilt and shame came at 10 years old, at the hands of my father because of something he did. And so I learned guilt and shame at 10 years old. So I was always very self-conscious. I was always, unworthy of anyone's respect, of anyone's love, of anyone's correct treatment of me. And then I realized during my awakening period, because the guilt and shame, it just got heavier. Like I explained to my clients, I'm always like, okay, if I gave you a backpack full of bricks right now and told you to run, could you do it? No. So let's start removing the bricks from the backpack. And when I removed the guilt and the shame bricks, I realized they weren't even mine to carry. He should have been the one feeling guilty and ashamed for his actions. Why would I feel guilty and ashamed? But in society, we are taught to feel that way, even if it is someone else that owns or should own up to those feelings. So my whole life, I felt guilty, ashamed, and unworthy. And it wasn't until 47 that I'm like, that's not mine to carry. Take that away. I'm not going to feel guilty and ashamed. And then the decisions that I did make where I should carry some guilt. I owned up to them. For example, I wasn't the perfect mom. And I felt guilty about a lot of the decisions that I made in my children's childhood. But what did I do? Own it, atone for it, and now we're growing from it together with respect and love, true love, unconditional love. So that's for the tribe meeting. But that's what guilt and shame taught me, that No, we own our place in guilt or shame. Should we place something on another, hurt on another, and then we leave it there. We're done. We're not carrying the bricks in the backpack anymore. So that's kind of how I teach my clients when we're discussing guilt and shame.
Mm.
And a lot of us moms have that.
I love that image of, the guilt and the shame and everything else, like being bricks that you're carrying in a backpack. I think that's such a powerful, analogy for how it is. And you're right, we can't we can't run, we can't do a whole lot when we're carrying that much. Yeah, so I love that image.
I love that too. It's such a great metaphor, isn't it? To unload each brick at a time, because we don't know until we know. We don't realize that we're even carrying it until I think this is a big piece, until we actually make time to look at what's driving us, what's running us, why we're doing the behaviors we do. That's how I identified all the things, by just making the time to do the things that made the most difference, to be in stillness. And when you talk about fear of not knowing what's on the other side, and even the fear, for me, fear around meditating. What am I going to see if I stop? What's going to happen if I be still? Oh, I might find things that I'm really uncomfortable about, and I don't want to see that. I don't want to feel that guilt. I don't want to feel that shame. And I think, it's why it's important to find a way that you can create the space to be still enough to feel. And I had so much shame and guilt, and like you ladies there, carrying other people's stuff. And I also feel like this has come through generations, and a lot of women I work with identify, well, my mum was like that, and my grandma, blah, blah, and, carried through. We feel their stuff when we're even in their tummy. We're taking on what they're feeling. So we're bringing that into the world and carrying, and then adding to it with all the things that we have to make time and space to dismantle, to remove those bricks, to de-armor ourselves, so we can get to the soul of who we truly are, so we can connect with who we truly are at the core level. And it's a really important piece, because these emotions drive us, these emotions run our lives. And sometimes, it's not until we have some sort of disaster or trauma or experience that's uncomfortable that we do awaken to become. And sometimes that's even more uncomfortable. But if you can start working slowly to, uncover and discover more about who you are and who you're becoming, those pieces will come up gently and kindly, and you can nourish them and nurture them, and do the inner child, or whatever it is that works for you in your world, to bring her along with you and hold her in your heart and tell her it wasn't her fault. It was, it's making you who you are. It's made you who you are today. So, there's a lot in this shame and guilt, because that's what, a lot of women, when I talk about, their behavior, they're pleasing everybody else. They become people pleasers. They're doing everything for everybody, and they're left behind carrying all the bricks. So, please, ladies, if you're listening, start to uncover and discover the beautiful being that you are inside.
Yeah, unpack those bricks, right? That's so powerful, Jo. Thank you. And I love that you brought up meditation and how oftentimes people are fearful about, looking at their own emotions in that space, right? Um, letting ourselves not be distracted Right. I'd love to hear from others on what are your thoughts about meditation and that, or other types of reflection in that fear of basically being alone with ourselves. Because I know that's something that a lot of my clients avoid. They're like, I don't want to be alone with myself. Oh my gosh, what? Like I can't, I couldn't tolerate it, right? So I'd love to hear from you ladies about that.
I was always the girl who was like, I'm too busy to meditate. Like, I don't have time to meditate. I'm too busy. But that's the person who needs it the most, right? The person who's unable to slow down. And when I learned to slow down and when I learned what meditation actually was, and it's not about just sitting in stillness, it's about, the ability to just allow your thoughts to be there and to not get fixated on them, which leads to overthinking and overanalyzing, to be with your emotions as they arise, to just allow them to be present, to acknowledge them and not resist them. And if resistance comes up, you accept it as well, you welcome it. And so until I started doing the work for myself, with resistance at first, but I did lean into it. Once I started doing it and saw the difference of how I felt, even just having moments of panic or anxiety occur and allowing myself to sit with it and then realizing they just move through me instead of rehashing and then bringing it up to my brain, making it a whole story, and then that moment of 60 to 90-second feeling lasts a full day, right? So it's kind of like just giving yourself permission again to feel into it when it occurs. It's happening. Okay, it's here. Let's accept it. Let's just be with it and know that it just needs to move through your body. That was a game changer because now I feel so much more peace, so much more calm. I don't feel like I don't feel like my emotions control me, if I could say it that way. Like I feel it's not about control, but at the same time, it's like when you're in those moments of anxiety or panic, there's an overwhelm there because you feel like you're helpless. But if you can just sit with it and like it's here, it's happening, let's be with it, it helps so much to just allow them to move through your body. And then you come out on the other side and you're like, okay, we're still here. It's okay. Like I could do this. And then it builds your resilience. So for me, like my form of meditation is just being able to sit with those feelings when they arise, and not overanalyze every thought in my mind. Just like, okay, let it pass, let it pass. And so if I was the person who was like, I can't meditate, and now I'm saying this, anybody can do it. That's my message.
Right. And I love how you brought up resilience, right? It really is so helpful for resilience. Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts on meditation and being with ourselves? Oh my gosh, sitting with ourselves.
I was always taught as a young girl in America that meditation was evil, it was of the devil. And it's actually saved quite a few people's lives around me, the fact that I do enjoy meditation. But being with your thoughts, like one of my relatives, young lady, she always says, but I can't get my mind to slow down. And I'm trying to get her to meditate the most because, like Sabrina said, you're the one who needs it the most. Like, if you can't get your mind to slow down. But I also want to mention this: meditation is not just sitting in stillness. Meditation, there's a woman that I love. She's performing at my summit, and she has taught you can dance and meditate at the same time to any type of music. It's a matter of just being in the moment, being present in that moment and not allowing your thoughts to control you. So, walking in nature is meditation. Dancing is meditations. If you've ever seen Native Americans or Aztecs or the Mayans, they're dancing, but they're zoned out. They are not here. They are in a very quiet, peaceful state of mind, but to our eyes, they're dancing. So I just kind of wanted to mention that piece. While being able to sit in stillness with frequency music or just quiet is amazing, there are many forms of meditation. So if you can't start with sitting in prayer pose, going chanting Om or anything like that, or Lam or Ham or whatever, you can dance and meditate. And when you zone out, that's when you don't have those thoughts.
I love that you point out that the kind of what we think of meditation it doesn't have to be that. It can be so much more. And I also chuckle when you say people talking about, oh, meditation is the work of the devil, because prayer is a form of meditation. I think it's just so funny for people to say, oh my God, the devil, and but prayer is meditation too, right? Yeah. So great points. Absolutely, yeah.
And mindfulness, I guess that's what we're tapping onto here. Meditation is a form of mindfulness. And so the dancing and the moving and the walking with nature and the zoning out is all a part of mindfulness. But I get a lot of clients and we had a natural health business for over 20 years. And so we had a lot of clients that really needed meditation that I would suggest it to, and they said, oh, I tried it, doesn't work, tried it, didn't like it, tried it, doesn't work. And so they're the ones that, of course, need it the most. But it's like I explained to them, it's a meditation practice. It's not just a one-off thing. It's not like, oh, I tried it, didn't work. It's like it's a practice, which means you need to keep going. You need to practice. To be good at anything, you need to practice it. And the rewards are well worth that. But I also suggest to people to just do it for 2 minutes at a time. Just focus on something and zone out for 2 minutes at a time, and then congratulate yourself. I've done it for 2 minutes at a time, because your soul wants you to have a win. So if you can do that for 2 minutes at a time, and then another 2 minutes and another 2 minutes, and then you can begin doing it for longer. So I do help people to either focus on something, like I used to teach meditation and teach them to focus on a rose and then describe that rose and see the petals and that. And a lot of people who can't meditate have found that that's really helpful. But above all of that, it's the practice that actually makes the difference. And all you're trying to do really is to give your mind some space. Give yourself some space. Be gentle on yourself. And that's the way of doing it. And I know that with people who meditate regularly, when they did a survey and they weren't allowed to meditate for a month, I think it was, they were really desperate to meditate. So you do notice the difference when you haven't been meditating to when you have been meditating regularly. And the only way that you can explain that to people is to try it. Give it a go. When you meditate on a regular basis and then you haven't, you notice that you feel scattery and twitchy and on edge, whereas regular meditation helps to find that peace within.
Yeah, that's a great point about it's a practice. It's not a box that we check off. It's something that you keep doing, and a great tip for how to get started for people who aren't, who say I can't, right? I love that. And I know, Tywanah, I know you have to go on the hour. So I want to say, thank you so much for your input. I truly appreciate everything that you brought. And Jo, I also want to give you the opportunity to, come back around. I know you kind of brought up the meditation. I want to make sure we get your thoughts as well on this.
Just 1 minute. A few things dropped in for me, and I love this practice piece, because practice makes permanent, right? Practice makes permanent. It's one of my mantras. And we talk about mantra. And one of my early experiences of meditation was mantra, like sitting in an ashram and just getting to that place of, it's euphoric, you're in that and you're still inside. There's nothing going on here. It's taken you to a place of stillness. So having a practice like Tywanah talks about, it doesn't have to be sitting still, but doing something, dance. And every day is different for me. Yoga, on my yoga mat, I'm in meditation because I'm present. So think more presence, coming back to presence. I can be meditating while I'm working because I'm present. I'm in that moment. So yeah, I just really love this conversation. I think we could talk all day about it. So thank you so much, ladies. It's been beautiful.
Yeah. Yes, I appreciate everybody's input and all of your experiences and all of your stories. Thank you so much for sharing. And then I will invite Sophia back in to
Thank you,
close us
Laura, for
out.
having us. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Laura. This has been a wonderful wisdom circle. I've been sitting here in the background listening, and oh my God, so much wisdom. And I thoroughly agree with everyone about meditation. Lots of resistance, but when you go through that resistance, magic happens. So I just want to honor you, Laura, for your very first wisdom circle. Truly wonderfully well facilitated, and I look forward to all the other ones that you will be running for us. And also honor Sabrina and Gayle for tuning in for their first time to joining us for a wisdom circle. So thank you for joining us. And of course, our beautiful Tywanah, who is the host of the Psychic Essence Development Tribe Connection, Psychic Essence Connection Collective, something like that. Click on the links below to find out. You'll find out more. So thank you. And also Jo, who's tuning in, and our beautiful Trina, who is in the audience. Thank you for joining us. And for everyone who is listening or watching, click on the links below. Reach out to these amazing women because of the wisdom that they've shared in the hour. And if you have any questions, pop it in the chat, in the comments, and we will get back to them. Or just reach out, send them a message, and follow them on all their social medias, which are all down below. And for everyone else, if you want to know about Sacred You, again, click on the links below or come and visit us at Sacred You, that's the letter U.love. We have got so much coming up. Our wisdom circles, our panel discussions. We've got a panel discussion coming up tomorrow. We've got archetype circles coming up. That's really, really exciting, and so much more. So come and visit us and join us for free. Join sacredyou.love/join free. Join us for free. Have a beautiful day wherever you are. And I just want to again thank everyone for being here.